Welcome to another edition of the High Five. It's Wednesday. It is a middle of the week. It's hump day. We're going to make it over, and we're excited to be here today. Thank you so much for joining us. This is going to be a special episode as we talk about some objections. And it's just Danny and I today. We'll talk about all the things that are going on in our lives in just a moment. But it's time for a High Five.
The time has come. The questions are set. Opinions hide. Discussions are led. A show about nothing and everything. It's all the same. We've got sports, entertainment, sales, and marketing. It's time for the High Five. We've got it all covered. It's time for the High Five. We've got it all covered. Yeah. The High Five.
All right, it's time for the High Five. My name's Nate Manahan, but I'm much better when I have two people with me. On the right-hand side of your screen is the man who, well, you know what? He is fighting for all of you as partners, but he's also fighting for his new daughter who was born just this last weekend. We want to congratulate Danny Shard. How are you, Danny?
I'm doing well. Thank you, Nate. It's good to be on here. Yeah, my wife and I had our baby girl last week, and we're beyond blessed. A little tired, but that comes with it. So everything's great.
Well, you know, the question is, has she sold her first account yet? That's the real question. I mean, is she?
Not yet. My mother actually came into town. As most of you know, she's also a partner with us, and we were actually talking about how I need her to close some more business. But hey, first things first, she's here with family and taking care of her grandbaby. So.
Well, hey, you got always the work of the sales director and the national sales director to make sure everybody's on task, that we're continuing to push forward. And these are huge months of sales right now. I mean, really, this next 6 weeks can absolutely put you on a rocket ship. Because there's so much change that happens and so many opportunities. Dan, I wasn't telling you I was going to ask this question, but tell me, why is like this, it's about the movement up to the holiday season and Black Friday. Why is that such an important time to make sure we put our head down and get as many sales and opportunities as possible in merchant services?
Yeah, I mean, the fourth quarter is perceived differently from a lot of folks, and especially in the sales industry, in the sales space. Some folks really kind of use this time to more or less follow up with merchants that they've signed throughout the year, try to avoid going after new business because they feel that a lot of merchants just aren't looking to make changes as we get into these busy months. But in fact, what we found is it's the exact opposite. Merchants, although they're busy getting ready for the holiday season, they're also in preparation mode, getting ready for 2021, trying to think ahead. And most successful entrepreneurs are doing that, right? They're not just living in the now. They're always trying to think 2, 3, 4 steps ahead and really make sure that their business is set up for success down the road. So this, as we get into the holidays, it's just the time to talk about technology, talk about savings, talk about value adds that you should really help merchants start having and start offering if they don't already. And it's amazing how much sales go on here in the fourth quarter. And a lot of those partners miss out on it that don't take advantage of it.
Well, I think one of the things we want to talk about today is some of those objections that may pop up when you're really driving into a great opportunity right now, because more merchants than ever are changing their point of sale systems. They're changing their systems, their operations. They're totally restructuring, and they're doing it at rapid paces. And there are those who have already made those changes, but there are those who have been, this is going to go on in this pandemic world. And they're now thinking, okay, I've got to make some changes. I can't go another 3 months this way. I need to make some changes. And so we've got to be the person that's there, providing the hope, the opportunity to be there. Danny, the first objection I'm interested in hearing what you say, and we hear this quite a bit, is when you walk in and you present cash discount or edge pricing, as we were often refer to it in the paper tech world, and the merchant looks at you and he says, well, I can't do that to my customers. It's not their fault they're using the credit card. It's not their fees that they're paying. I can't do that to them. What are some of the things you say as a rebuttal to that statement?
I would say that is the initial reaction for the majority of merchants when presented with the program. Of course, they see the dollar signs, they see the benefit to their bottom line and eliminating those processing fees. and they're like, wow, I love the concept. But then you hear I'm concerned about what my customers will say. I'm concerned about passing through. I just can't do that to them. And the spin with that is, change your mindset, right? To where as you're presenting it to the merchant and you're trying to simplify it, right? And not really going into too much detail and getting lost in the weeds a little bit, trying to keep it high level. And, we're using this as a way to offset your processing fees. Card paying customers are going to pay a little bit more, right? And that's an easy way to explain it to a merchant. Immediately it gets in their head that now they're going to, upcharge a merchant when they're using a credit card. And that's what they're doing in a certain sense. But you got to flip the script and you got to change their mindset a little bit. And it always needs to be a discount conversation, right? Whenever you talk about discounts, people are happy, right? I want to get 10% off. I want to get 4% less. I mean, whatever it is, however I can do it, I'm interested, right? And so if you kind of can change the mindset to a discount conversation and saying, when's the last time you changed your pricing? A lot of merchants are changing their pricing 3, 5, 10 times a year, it seems like, or by product, depending on the cost that they get from their suppliers. And instead of them having to do that, now they can actually spin it as a discount to their cash paying customers and mark up maybe all the other merchandise, but still offer that discount, which is the same price that they're offering today. It's a really good conversation to have with the merchant. And when you can change that mindset to a discount conversation, consumers are happy about it. The other thing too is that it's okay to have conversations with merchants about the reality that COVID has brought into our industry, right? And the impact that it's had on small businesses. Consumers know this, they're aware of it, and they're empathetic to it as well. So merchants should leverage that, right? We had to do this. COVID really hurt our business. We implemented this cash discount program so we could offer discounts to cash paying customers. And that spin, that 99.9% of consumers understand and are never going to have an issue with it. And if you can explain that to the merchant, you're going to get them over that hurdle of impacting their customers, because they're going to have some rebuttals and they're going to have some things behind them so they can get around those conversations if they come up.
I think one of the things I did yesterday, I was talking to a potential merchant that was coming through, and they were asking some of these types of suggestions slightly different ways, but I just simply said, this is a pizza place. I said, what do you do when the price of your pepperoni or the price of your sausage goes up significantly? And they immediately said, well, I'd have to change the price of my pizza. Well, what have you done as your pricing for processing payments has gone up? What have you done? And I think it's making sure they understand what the model here is. It's not you're charging more to your customer, it's that you're changing your pricing. And the other way to look at it also is when your customers do come and pay cash, and this is one you have to be sensitive to right now, because cash is certainly something we're seeing used less, and we love that. But what are you doing to your customers who do pay for cash? And yet you're having to raise all your prices in order to recoup that, because that's when it says, well, why don't I just do this in all my prices anyways, and I'll also recoup that? Well, then you're hurting your customers who are coming in and wanting to pay for cash. And it's a conversation that you just have to change the perspective instead of just going, oh my word, because Danny knows this for sure. When we first started talking about this, I had that bristling effect. No, I don't want to pay an extra 4%. I don't want to pay an extra 3.5%. No, don't do that to me. And at some point, you're like, okay, no, we just have to move beyond that conversation. And I think we're gradually moving toward that tipping point, specifically in the merchants. And it's fast forward in the last 6 months. Would you agree, Danny?
I really would. And Nate, you hit the nail on the head with that, right? I mean, what do you do when your suppliers, your manufacturers, the people that you get your product from increase their pricing? You adjust your pricing to maintain your margins. That should also happen on payment processing and any cost that you have as a business owner. When rent goes up, when the light bill goes up, internet, I mean, whatever your costs are, as your costs increase, you need to have your pricing adjusted to maintain your margins. And that goes for payment processing as well. That's a really great conversation to have with merchants. Well,
let's go into our second question today. When we sell multiple sets of point of sale systems. We have all kinds of different types, and most of them we're resellers. We work directly with the vendor, with the POS company. As I like to say, most of these companies, I have the CEO and founder in my phone and can text message and expect a reply pretty quickly, if not instantly. And that's how our relationship works. But I understand when you walk in and you say, I represent John Smith Merchant Services, and the person looks back at you and says, what, shouldn't I just go to Hot Sauce and buy that point of sale? Shouldn't I just go to Paradise and buy that point of sale? What are you giving me that theirs aren't? I should just go direct and get this hardware. I'll get more service. Danny, what do you say to those merchants who are just like, I'd rather just go and buy it directly from the source?
That's a really great question. And we do hear that sometimes. The obvious spin to that is, unless you're over the phone or doing it face to face, which you can do this either way, it needs to be positioned that you can go to them and you can be just another number, right? Where I'm going to provide you with a white glove experience and really give you a much more better experience, better pricing model, all of that. What a lot of merchants don't realize that think in that direction, well, let me just cut out the middleman is what they think and go directly to the source. I use authorize.net as a good example, right? So with authorize.net, merchants can go directly to authorize.net and get set up at a rate of 2.9% and 30 cents. I think a lot of us are familiar with their rates along with PayPal, Stripe, and a few others, right? 2.9, 30 cents, $49 setup fee, $25 a month, right? But initially they're like, well, I can go directly to authorize.net. What do I need you for? And the thought to the merchant is that we're padding that. We're adding even more to it, when the reality is the exact opposite. Due to the amount of business that we do with these vendors, with the POS systems that we have, we've been able to get our costs down under what they would offer direct to merchant, right? So like in the example of authorize.net, our cost is just $6. We set the rates, no setup fees. I mean, it's mind-boggling when you think about going directly to the source and the different pricing structure, cost of equipment, how it's different for their suggested retail price that they give direct to the merchants, unless going through a sales channel where we can provide much more competitive rates and a better support experience for them.
And I think that a lot of it has to do that our merchants have to realize that we have a special relationship with this, and that this is a opportunity for us to be able to not only say represent you, but we know the fast track to get to service. We are another person. We are, in essence, a middleman, but we're the fastest way to get to that service and to that support that you're going to need, because we're setting up not just one of these, we're setting up dozens, hundreds, if not thousands of these. And we know and have the relationships to make this work smoother and faster. And I think our relationship with our POS, our POS Pros team does a great job, Danny, actually setting up and making sure that we have the best relationship with our vendors. And no one, I would say second to none, you're going to get the best service when you go through us, better than if you go direct.
That's exactly right. I mean, the POS Pros team, you got Robert Kramer leading the pack. You got Morgan Nordmeyer, you got Matt Proctor, you got Tim McCaffrey, a few new team members that are joining as well to help, because this team is getting used by all of our partners. That is probably one of the most important pieces, right? They do such a good job at maintaining a healthy working relationship with all of our vendors. And that allows us to get kind of pushed to the top in a lot of scenarios and get things resolved quicker, get exceptions made, get customizations made that certain merchants might need at a much faster pace. And just do the amount of business that we do with all of our vendors, we're able to do that. So I can't stress enough to use that POS Pros team. This team knows what they're talking about, forwards and backwards on all these different systems. They're going to point you in the right direction, and we're going to make sure that you get a better experience even from going directly to a vendor.
Well, I'm going to do one last question today, and we keep doing these. We do these about every 3 weeks, and we push some of these objections, and then we move some of these objections. We talk directly on the 5 with Danny, and so we'd love to hear some more topic suggestions. I got several this morning that we're going to be recording after this for our 5-minute episodes that go out every day. But this one, I think, is becoming more and more. It's not so much the merchant comes up with these questions, but it's these merchants who have multiple salespeople who are calling on them. And there are some bad, I'm going to call them out and say they're bad actors who put down other people's programs, and they'll use the words oh, their program's not legal or their program's not compliant. And I think they try to push confusion upon the merchant trying to get the business, which ultimately I think they lose. But you have to have an answer to that question when that words legal and compliance are pushed up, specifically in the cash discount and edge programs. How do you answer that question, and how do you help the merchant understand the difference between legal and compliance and how that applies to them?
That's just it's just salesmanship right there, right? Of course, cash discount, I think, has brought that on its own, right? And I say cash discount loosely because we do it a little bit different than the industry has coined cash discount with non-cash adjustments and things like that. But I would actually applaud them, Nate. I mean, they'd be poor salespeople if they didn't try to point out differences with a competitor. I find it to be pretty lazy, really, to take that approach, right? And in fact, if I'm a merchant, if someone's selling to me and they're focusing on bashing the competition, I'm not really interested in going with them, right? They're not really showing me how they're standing out. But the question of legality in our industry regarding and surrounding cash discount programs has left it up to that, right? So folks are using it. There have been folks, and I'm still not sure how that's possible since it's been a program available for the last almost 4 years now, that there's still people out there that are hugely against it, and they're going out and telling merchants that you can't do it. And any little bit of investigative work from a merchant, they can quickly find out from their state that they can absolutely do a cash discount program because it's available in all 50 states. So you're right, Nate. I mean, there's a lot of guys or people and partners out there, I should say, that are trying to use that as leverage and scare tactics to say, you shouldn't do this. These customers are going down the road and you're going to get turned in. And they're like really scaring these merchants to the point that merchants can make some knee-jerk reactions and they can be very convincing. So it's our job to provide these merchants not just with a good program and the right way to do it, but clarity with how they can do it legally, and I shouldn't say legally, but within compliance, and really kind of prepare them for that competitor that comes in and says that, and try not to get them off their rails. And Nate, you asked the difference between legal and compliance. And, compliance is it's set by the card brands, right? This is the way that they want merchants to take payments for the cards that they issue. They're not a government agency, right? They're not, merchants aren't going to go to jail, for doing a program incorrectly or something like that. Now, they could be fined or they could be removed from the ability to accept cards, right? So that's a big thing that would cripple the majority of businesses. So it's our job to make sure that they're doing things right and that we prepare these merchants to make them educated. They know exactly what they're doing. They know that what they're doing is compliant. They're allowed to do it in their state. And you kind of prep the merchant to avoid that competitor coming in and trying to scare them away. I think that's a big thing in our industry that all of us have tried to avoid doing, right? Educating merchants, right? Now, the reality is these merchants are restaurateurs and dry cleaners and florists, and, they're trying to run their business. They're not trying to become experts in payment processing. But I think it's so important now more than ever to educate your merchants more than they've ever been before. I think merchants have always tried to be, or we've always tried to keep merchants in the dark from pricing margins and things like that. We don't want merchants knowing what we're making because once they know, they're going to try and get a better deal. So a lot of that's been tried to keep in the dark from these merchants. And now I think is the time to open it up, be transparent, and educate these merchants. They're smart people. They're running successful businesses, right? So let them know exactly how it works. Open them up to the entire thing. And I think you're going to see a lot of them be able to push back on some of that competitor.
Dan, as we finish up today, I'm interested from your point of view, would you preemptively bring up these ideas of legal and compliance, especially if you're in a market that they're probably going to come across other people they're going to point and put seeds of doubt in their mind? Or do you just wait for them to come to you and ask that question because someone came and put a seed of doubt in their mind?
I think it's something that you do up front. I've got several cash discount merchants of my own, and I'm very open and transparent with merchants. Hey, let's do this program. here's how we can do it. Here's how the state of Colorado says we can do it. And keep in mind, the state of Colorado is actually one of those states that still bans surcharging. So there's even a little bit more concern there as well. But I'm telling you, I think that upfront approach, being open and transparent with them, bringing it to their attention. Hey, this is how we do it. Do you want to eliminate your processing fees? I can help you do it. I can give you a better system. And here's how you can do it and why. Because initially, a lot of merchants are like, really? Can I do that? Is that legal? And they don't even know about the compliance. But yeah, I think it's absolutely a conversation you have, because all it's going to do is convince them that not only can they eliminate these fees, but they can do it and not be out of compliance, right? They're going to be completely legal across every single platform that they can do. So I think that's a huge way of convincing them to do this program and implement it and not be scared and looking over their shoulder.
All right, as we wrap up today, let me bring up a little music here. We are our compadre that's often with us today is off getting ready for his son, his oldest, to get married, Mr. Brian Linke. We'll be sending out the celebrations and excitements on that. We'll be talking about that on Friday. We have new family. Danny's daughter is now a PayProtect, agent in training, and we are excited that there are now 2 more agents that are getting trained there in the mountains of Colorado that are ready to be able to be our partners and take us to the next level. This is exciting times to be a part. Danny, we are over halfway through the month. We're down to what? I think 8 business days if you count today left in this month. October is a great month to make this a record month. We're hearing some, rumblings of maybe some more stimulus money. It's a good time to be involved. How do you get excited today as we talk to our partners?
Yeah, this has been an amazing start to our fourth quarter promotion, and I think a lot of partners, what we realized is we wanted to push this promotion for the entire fourth quarter, because we realized that especially when you're dealing with point of sale systems, it's a longer sales cycle, right? So keep building your funnel, take advantage of these programs, of these promotions. You're not going to see them again. And shout out to Brian Linke, and congratulations to Zach and Esther, or the future Esther Linke. Excited to see the wedding on Zoom this weekend.
It's a very cool thing to be part of the PayProtect family. Thank you so much, Danny. Thank you, everybody, for watching. We will be back on Friday with another episode, as well as more 5 with Danny's. If you have more topics that you're interested in, make sure you email them to me at nmanahan@payprotect.com, and we'll make sure we're getting recording. In fact, we're jumping over right now. I'm going to do a couple 5 with Danny recordings. Shh, it's a secret. We're going to have some special episodes coming. Talking to you soon. We'll see you next time.
Let's go.
Let's go. We'll talk to you next time. Have a great one. High five, everybody.